Courage shines brightest when fear is strongest. Think about it. If there were no fear, would we even need courage? It is fear that makes courage meaningful. Imagine standing on a battlefield surrounded by the clash of swords, the roar of men, and the uncertainty of whether you will live to see another dawn. Most would tremble, some would retreat, but a few choose to step forward. That step, taken in the presence of fear, is the very definition of courage. Richard the Lionheart embodied this truth. He was not fearless, no man truly is, but he had the strength to act despite fear. In the darkest moments, when the odds were stacked against him, he did not hide behind his title as king. Instead, he led from the front, where danger was fiercest. His soldiers drew strength from his bravery, because they saw that if their king could ride into the storm, so could they. That is the lesson for us. Courage is not about pretending fear does not exist. It is about recognizing fear, standing face to face with it, and choosing to move anyway. The heart of a lion is not the absence of trembling. It is the decision to roar louder than the doubt that tries to silence you. And when you act in that way, your courage becomes a light for others, just as Richard's courage lit the path for his men. True leadership demands action, not just titles. A crown on the head or a badge of authority does not automatically make someone a leader. History is full of men and women with high positions who left no mark because they never acted with conviction. Leadership is proven in the moment of decision, in the choices made when others are watching, and in the example set when the path ahead is dangerous. Richard the Lionheart understood this better than most kings of his time. He did not rule from behind walls, giving orders from a safe distance. He rode alongside his soldiers, shared their hardships, and fought in the same dust and blood as they did. That is why his men followed him. Not because he was their king, but because he was their leader. His presence on the battlefield gave them courage. His actions gave them faith, and his willingness to bear risk gave him authority no throne could provide. In our own lives, the same truth applies. Leadership is not about what position we hold, but about what we do with the opportunities before us. People do not remember the ones who claimed the title. They remember the ones who took action, who showed up, who stood firm when others wavered. That is the kind of leadership Richard displayed, and it is the kind that inspires others long after the battle is over. Sacrifice is the cost of achieving greatness. Nothing of lasting value is ever gained without giving something up. Comfort, safety, ease, these are the things most people cling to, and because of that, most never rise above the ordinary. True greatness demands a price, and only those willing to pay it can leave behind a legacy that echoes through time. Richard the Lionheart knew this well. He left the security of his throne and the luxury of his kingdom to lead his men across foreign lands in the Crusades. He gave up peace for conflict, wealth for hardship, and rest for endless marches under burning suns. He could have remained in his palace, surrounded by gold and guarded by soldiers, but he chose instead to bear the weight of sacrifice, to stand where the danger was greatest. That sacrifice cost him years of his life, his freedom when he was captured, and even his health. But it also earned him immortality in history. For us, the lesson is just as powerful. If we want to achieve something meaningful, whether it is mastery of a skill, the building of a dream, or the shaping of character, we must be prepared to let go of what is easy and embrace the hard road. Sacrifice is not loss, it is investment. It is the seed planted in hardship that blooms into greatness. Just as Richard's sacrifices made him a legend, our sacrifices can carve paths that others will one day admire. A vision bigger than oneself fuels perseverance. When a person lives only for their own comfort or gain, their strength runs out quickly because self-interest alone cannot carry the weight of real struggle. But when the goal reaches beyond the individual, when it touches faith, honor, or the future of others, it gives a power that refuses to break under pressure. Richard the Lionheart was driven by such a vision. He did not march to distant lands only to expand his own wealth or empire. His crusade was fueled by something larger, a cause that demanded sacrifice, a belief that there was more to life than a throne or a crown. That vision gave him the ability to endure long campaigns, betrayal, and even captivity. He was not simply fighting for himself, he was carrying the weight of a mission that stirred his heart and gave his men a reason to follow him through deserts, storms, and battlefields. The same is true for us. When our goals are small, the first obstacle can feel like the end. But when our vision is greater than our fear, we find the strength to keep going. A dream that serves only us will die in silence, but a vision that serves others will keep us alive even when everything else tries to bring us down. Richard's life reminds us that perseverance is born not from comfort, but from the fire of a vision that refuses to let go. Legacy is built through choices, not chance. No one becomes remembered by accident. History does not celebrate those who lived without direction. It honors those who made deliberate decisions, who shaped their lives with intention, and who understood that every action leaves a mark. Each choice, whether bold or cautious, contributes to the story people will tell long after we are gone. Richard the Lionheart's legacy was not written by luck. It was written by the choices he made. The choice to lead from the front, the choice to sacrifice comfort for duty, the choice to live by courage rather than fear. He could have chosen the safer path of ruling quietly from his palace, but instead he carved his name into history through decisive action. His legacy is not just in the battles he fought, but in the message his life carried, that courage and honor are worth more than ease and luxury. For us, this truth is powerful. We cannot control every event in life, but we can control the decisions we make within them. Will we choose discipline over laziness, courage over fear, vision over comfort? Every day, we are writing our legacy with the choices before us. Richard's story shows us that greatness is not a matter of chance. It is the sum of choices made with purpose and conviction. Strength alone is not enough. Faith and conviction matter. A strong arm can win battles, but without belief, that strength soon fades. Muscles tire, swords grow dull, and armies break under pressure. But faith, whether in a cause, in God, or in one's own purpose, can carry a person further than brute force ever could. Conviction is what turns strength into endurance and struggle into victory. Richard the Lionheart carried both the sword and the spirit. His reputation was not built on power alone, but on the belief that his fight had meaning beyond himself. Chronicles describe how his courage was fueled not merely by the thrill of battle, but by his faith in something higher, a conviction that steadied him when danger closed in. It was this inner certainty that allowed him to march across lands far from home, to face enemies larger in number, and to endure betrayal and imprisonment without breaking. In our own lives, strength may get us started, but it is conviction that keeps us standing when challenges stretch longer than we expected. The will to continue does not come from muscles or titles. It comes from the heart that knows why it fights. Richard's life reminds us that true power is not just the strength in our hands, but the belief in our purpose. Because without conviction, even the strongest will eventually fall. Even kings face doubt, but resilience defines them. No one, no matter how powerful, walks through life without moments of uncertainty. Fear whispers in every ear, and doubt tries to weaken even the bravest hearts. The difference between those who fade and those who endure is not the absence of doubt, but the decision to rise after it strikes. Resilience is the shield that carries us through when confidence wavers. Richard the Lionheart was not untouched by hesitation. Imagine the weight he bore, thousands of lives depending on his command, a kingdom waiting for his return, enemies plotting at every turn. There must have been moments when the path ahead looked unbearable, when the cost seemed too high. Yet history remembers him not for moments of weakness, but for how he pressed forward despite them. When captured and chained, he did not surrender to despair. When betrayed by allies, he did not let bitterness consume him. Each time life tried to break him, he chose to endure, and that resilience became part of his legend. This truth reaches into our own struggles. We all face doubts about whether we are strong enough, worthy enough, or capable enough. But resilience is not about never questioning ourselves. It is about refusing to let those questions stop us. Like Richard, we may stumble, we may be tested, but if we rise each time, our story becomes one of strength. What defines us is not that doubt visited us, but that resilience carried us beyond it. The world remembers those who dared, not those who hid. Safety has never written history. It is the bold, the risk-takers, the ones who stepped into the unknown despite the danger, who shaped the stories we tell today. Fear may protect us for a moment, but courage secures a place in eternity. To dare is to leave footprints where others only dreamed of walking. Richard the Lionheart dared when others hesitated. He dared to leave behind the comfort of his crown and cross oceans into hostile lands. He dared to ride at the front lines of battle, exposing himself to the same dangers as his men. He dared to face enemies more numerous and powerful, not because he was certain of victory, but because he refused to let fear dictate his choices. That daring spirit carved his name into history and made him a symbol of courage for generations. For us, the lesson is clear. Playing safe may keep us hidden, but it also keeps us forgotten. To make a mark, we must be willing to step into challenges that test us, risks that scare us, and opportunities that may fail but could also change everything. Richard's story shows that the world honors those who dare to live fully, even at great cost, rather than those who chose silence and safety. If we want to be remembered, we too must dare. Every person has a lion within, waiting to be awakened. Too often, people convince themselves that greatness belongs only to kings, warriors, or legends written in books. But the truth is, courage and strength are not reserved for a chosen few. They live quietly inside us all, waiting for the moment we decide to set them free. The difference lies in whether we choose to stay asleep in comfort or awaken the lion within when life demands it. Richard the Lionheart's story is proof of what happens when that inner lion is unleashed. His courage was not granted by his crown, it came from within. He simply chose to listen to the roar inside his heart instead of the whispers of fear. That decision made him a symbol of bravery that echoes through the centuries. He reminds us that courage is not about title or position, but about the choice to act boldly when it matters most. In our lives, we each face battles, not with swords and shields, but with doubt, fear, failure, and resistance. The lion within us is awakened the moment we choose action over hesitation, purpose over comfort, resilience over surrender. Richard's legacy calls us to recognize that we, too, carry a lion's heart. And when we let it roar, we step into a life that not only changes us, but inspires others to find their courage as well.